Just recently, news anchor Jake Tapper for CNN has issued an apology to Lara Trump after a verbal confrontation that he got into with Lara, who suspected a decline in Joe Biden's cognitive health 5 years prior, in October of 2020. I'm going to show you guys the clip, and then I'm going to get further into an additional medical diagnosis when mentioning how Biden has gotten sicker over the past week or so. Let's roll that clip.
Okay. That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable. What we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline. Okay. That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable. You are no stage. This is so amazing. It's so amazing to me that try and figure out an answer. A cognitive decline. Well, when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was I think that you were mocking his stutter. Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline.
And now, 5 years later, he has his tail between his legs.
She was right, and I was wrong. I did not see in the moments he was having, I did not see that as cognitive decline. She did. Our reporting suggests that she was correct. So I feel humility. I've apologized to her.
Yep. You saw that right, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Now, I'm not too sure how many legacy media outlets are going to recover after Jake's admission on Piers Morgan Uncensored. Here's the problem with how MSNBC and CNN were not comfortable with this subject. The issue is that these outlets have been so accustomed to building flack on Trump's past administration and this present administration that they would willingly have anyone like Joe Biden be the ideal person in their eyes to be the supporting president, since his party's affiliation fits their narrative. Now, with that out of the way, let's mention the fact that Joe Biden has cancer in his prostate. That's another thing to talk about when bringing up Biden's health in general, other than cognitive health. It is sad to have someone who is struggling with cancer, especially with me personally, because I do have an uncle. His name is Brian. He's struggling with prostate cancer, and it's very horrendous. Very, very horrendous. Which I'd imagine is very sad, especially in the eyes of Jill Biden and the rest of the Biden family. Cancer is not fun. It doesn't matter if it's skin cancer. It doesn't matter if it's myeloid leukemia, acute lymphoblastic leukemia, neuroblastoma, rhabdomyosarcoma. I could go on with some of the other possible forms of cancer that are in the dictionary, but I'm not going to, because that's not the main subject. But I don't wish that, especially on him. It just happened. And the least we can do is wish that he spends his last years in the best comfort possible. Because the fact is, he is old, and he's very ill. At this point, all to say is that Joe Biden is definitely not well. As much of a surprise this is to some people, this is not the only case with somebody who is an old guy, especially like Joe. Now, since I mentioned that, I'm just going to say, it is a spur-of-the-moment thing, but when it comes to old folks. But yeah, since I mentioned that, here is a little tidbit from WebMD. Now, according to the guidelines from the American Society of Clinical Oncologists, prostate cancer is more than twice as likely in people over 70 than in younger people. They're also more than 4 times as likely to have advanced prostate cancer, and they're more likely to die from the disease. Now, come to think of it, I wonder how old Joe Biden is right now. I'm going to pull that up right now. 82 years. Wow. I guess that you have it right there. Now, with this alone, it doesn't mean that Joe is going to die. At least not yet. Not only that, but the source for that info has stated that there is not exactly a particular age to confirm when it becomes more dangerous. It's a common occurrence among elders, but again, not enough info to conclude what age it becomes more serious. Now, before going back to the original discussion, I would like to mention that countless people have posted get well threads on social media, expressing sympathy for the Bidens, sending wishes of him getting well, all that lot. But yeah, you get the point that I'm making. Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about what really needs to be discussed. when there were signs that all wasn't well, when it was that there were sources that could have been a bit more sincere and just admit it, it's the legacy media's resentment and harsh criticisms that they have for Trump, and the fact that there were countless slip-ups which may have been some subtle cues to how he was not doing well. It just wasn't in the focus for so many of them. But their refusal was probably due to the fear that allowing such a person, senile, to run as president and then admit it, it's just not a good look for them. Now, this is the part where I'm going to show y'all a clip from Don't Walk Run Productions with content creator Andrew. Now, Andrew painstakingly put together a compilation of Joe Biden displaying noticeable verbal gaffes. It's 20 minutes, so it must have been a lot to research, I can imagine, especially for him. Big shout-outs to him. But before we get onto it, I'm going to bring some context before I show you the clip. So there was a time where President Trump made a verbal blunder by referring to Viktor Orban, the leader of Turkey, by mistake, when he was actually the leader of Hungary, but he instantly corrected himself shortly after, with which Rachel Maddow, she was more than eager to call out Trump, but quick to turn a blind eye to the similar verbal mistakes that Joe Biden made. But I'm going to go on to the clip and I'm going to show you, okay? Let's go on with it.
We're back in October 2023, when Donald Trump was giving remarks in Derry, New Hampshire, and spoke of Prime Minister Viktor Orban of Hungary. And it became a fairly big story.
Viktor Orban, did anyone ever hear of him? He's probably like one of the strongest leaders anywhere in the world. And he's the leader of, right? He's the leader of Turkey.
Hungary and Turkey are kind of the same to him because Hungary sounds like hungry and Turkey is like gobble gobble, like nom nom. I'm hungry for some turkey. Maybe he thinks they're the same. I don't know.
Viktor Orban, and he's the head of Hungary, and he runs it tough. Let me tell you, he runs it properly. He runs it strong.
So weird that Rachel Maddow wouldn't show that part. Of course she didn't have the same concerns when it came to Joe.
Yeah, you have it right there. That's why this whole thing is a real mess. In a nutshell, the legacy media was bitter silent about Biden's errors, but when Trump makes a similar error and corrects himself, it's an issue. It also goes to show how Joe Biden to the Democrats was much like Luke Skywalker to the rebellion. Which is funny I should mention, since Mark Hamill has been a supporter of Biden, and is a supporter for Biden, but that's a story for another day. And just a real question. Are any of you guys going to be invested in Jake Tapper's new book? Needless to say, it's from Jake Tapper from CNN. I mean, it's a truthful news source, right? I mean, it's not like Sean Hannity or Brett Baer or someone else from fake Fox News. Well, I just don't know how it's going to look for Jake Tapper, because Jake Tapper is from CNN. And the fact that he's now admitting that there were some cues or some signs that Joe Biden was not doing well, I just wonder how it's going to look for his career. Because there are some Democrats out there who actually like Joe Biden or love him to the end and would not want to admit that something was wrong over the past 4 years that we've had him in office and with his running mate, Kamala Harris. But there are some Democrats, I'm sure, who actually admit that Joe Biden was probably old and that he was not doing well, and were probably a bit glad that Joe Biden was not going to be running second term. And another thing I should mention, the fact that Jake Tapper made this book, Andrew made a video about that too. I might give that one a watch. So in retrospect, regarding the past 4 years of Biden as president, and in conclusion, regarding Jake's apology to Lara, I think that this goes to show how stark of a reminder this story is to those who like someone and their likeness for someone who simply is not being the person who they have a hate for, and how that likeness for that person overshadows some of the noticeable mistakes that progress. Anyway, I think that covers everything on this topic. If you guys like this video, drop a like, share, leave a comment, and subscribe for more videos, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Take care, and have a great one. Bye-bye.